What we're going to look at in this module is your relationships with the client, from everything from getting a new client and bidding on projects, how to structure your pricing, how to be effective in communicating with them. And the reason for that is it's very important to make yourself available to the client. It's very important from their standpoint. And so if you can cater to that, then you're going to be more successful. So what this module is on is really the whole client and provider relationship. The first thing we're going to look at is finding clients. Okay, this is easy if you know how, but this is one of the most important parts if you're just starting out in something like this, is because you've got to be able to get those customers. At first, don't expect to get a whole lot because you've got to slowly build your business up. But what I'm going to show you is a way to be effective so that, at the beginning of this, if you don't know, if you're not familiar, if you don't have the experience, a lot of this would be hit and miss. What I want to do is kind of streamline that process for you and tell you maybe some of the mistakes that I have made in the past and what I'm doing now that works. I'm going to literally be revealing secrets to you about how I do business, about where I do business. But I'm not worried about it because there's no shortage of work out there for this type of thing. In fact, I'll be honest with you, there are not a lot of good quality video providers out there. By that, what I mean is people that will do the things that are needed to make a client happy. At least on what I'm talking about here is on the sites that I'm mentioning. Now, there are some big companies, some huge companies that provide this kind of service to, larger outfits for, of course, a reasonable fee. But at the beginning, you're going to use the techniques that I'm going to show you to find clients. But that's not how things will probably continue, because what happens usually, if you're good at what you do and if people like it and you've got a good price, then you're going to build yourself up a list of clientele, and more than likely they will keep you pretty busy. I deal with probably maybe 6 or 7 regular clients, and then I do, an occasional time or two that I have new people come in and they just order one thing. But like I said, I've got 6 or 7 clients that provide me steady work, almost more than I can handle. What I will do, though, is occasionally I keep my accounts at the sites that I'm going to talk to you about in just a minute. I keep those accounts, and occasionally I'll go there if maybe I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything scheduled for the next, maybe next week I don't have something scheduled. So I'll go there. I'll see if there's something that I'm interested in doing, bid on it, and fill up that time. That way, I don't have any time that I'm sitting around. So finding the clients is easy. There's a whole lot of work that needs to be done, so that's not a problem. One tricky part is knowing what to bid. The reason this is so tricky is because you don't want to underbid yourself and you don't want to overbid yourself. You've also got clients that, and I'll tell you here right up front, just give you kind of a warning. You will deal with clients that don't want to pay what it's actually worth. And then you will deal with clients that don't have a problem paying, what it's worth. So that's something to keep in mind. You can handle that however you want to. Let me tell you how I handle it. Let's say, for example, that when I first started out, I would bid whatever. I told you in one of the other videos, I did like 4 hours of Photoshop training for $360. Well, the man that I did that training for, he felt so bad, I think, because I did such a good job and I put so much into it. He gave me a $400 bonus when the training was over because he knew it was worth a lot more than that. So, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people out there like that. So what you're going to find is that at the beginning, you're going to be tempted. If you don't have any experience, you're going to be tempted to bid really low no matter what. And that's not necessarily bad when you're first starting out because you really, you don't have the experience. So you might have to bid really low, go ahead and get some jobs so that you can see how things work and see how you do and see how the clients like the work that you're doing. But ultimately, what we want to do is find the true value that we're able to put into that, and that's what you want to charge. You don't want to charge, $30 an hour if everybody out there is willing to pay $75 an hour or $100 an hour. At the same time, you will have people that come up and they want a $100 hour job and they want to pay you $30 an hour. It's up to you how you handle that. I used to go ahead and be very flexible and do whatever they wanted because I was desperate. I wanted to get into this so bad. I wanted to do it because I loved it, and I didn't have a lot of clients. Plus, I didn't know how to communicate with people really and let them know that I know what it's worth without, just coming out and saying that. But what I do now is I am flexible. You have to be a little bit flexible, but only within a range, basically. When I have a new client, and we'll just, aside from, let me tell you what we're going to do here in just a minute. On the next slide, we're going to talk about some websites that you can go to get jobs. What you do there is you bid on those jobs, and these are new people that you're dealing with, and they will either, go with you or go with somebody else. But once you get kind of a reputation and people find out about you, or even on those sites as well, you want to have kind of a set price. But that set price needs to be negotiable. Everything is up to negotiation, all right? So let's say that you're going to do video training, and however you want to do this, if you want to charge by the minute, if you want to charge by 15-minute blocks, hour blocks, whatever you want to do, you're going to set a bid amount. And I'm just going to give you an example here. Let's say for an hour of training, you're going to charge $2,500. And I can actually show you websites that's what they charge. Well, whenever you bid on a job, or whenever a new client approaches you, maybe they send you an email, they heard about you or something, you're going to submit that stock set rate. That's what you're going to tell them that it costs. Then depending on what they feed back to you, you want to be, flexible with that. I'll just give you an example. For 60-second promotional videos, it's got graphics, animation, voice, and music, and all that kind of stuff. I charge $525 for a 60-second clip. Now, that's a pretty cheap price if you go out and you look around. But I'm a one-man shop, and it doesn't take me very long to get something up like that. I might spend, maybe a whole day on it. But if I send or I submit a proposal, or I send an email to somebody, and they come back and they say, Ken, we checked out your profile. You got really great work. That's a little bit out of our budget. Is there anything you can do for us? And you got to, in those emails and those communications, you got to look for language. Sometimes they don't come right out and say, can you give us a better price? Sometimes they might just say, it's a little bit out of our budget. We really appreciate your submission. That still kind of leaves an open door. The reason that they didn't just email you back and said, no, thanks, we're not interested, they emailed you back and they talked to you about the price. So that leaves you an open door to go ahead and maybe pursue that. I will, like if somebody called me and they said, or they emailed me and they said, okay, we need a video clip, 60-second clip, something viral. And I submit them and I tell them I want $525 for this 60-second clip. And they say, well, we kind of need 2 clips and we've got a budget of $1,000 and we can't go over that budget. I might knock $80, $90 off of that. What is that to $1,000? So you got to be a little flexible. And 2, you have people that maybe their budget isn't $1,000, but they want to grind you a little bit. They want the satisfaction that they were grinding, that they ground you down. So you got to kind of give yourself, and what I'm saying is when you set your rate, give yourself a little bit of grind room so that, you got it kind of figured in there. If you don't have to, that's great, but just give yourself that room in the beginning. I forgot to mention too, I wanted to let you know that the video style that you're watching right now is different than the first 2 videos. And here's why. I wanted to give you kind of a first-hand view of the different types of presentation styles. What you're looking at right now is a PowerPoint presentation. Now, I haven't gotten fancy with the graphics and with the text. Certainly, there's a lot more that PowerPoint can do. But this is a basic presentation. You see how the text comes up on the screen, and you press the arrow key or spacebar on your keyboard, and it goes to the next topic. Like, I'll go ahead and that's a perfect segue into the next topic, which is communication is the key. Whenever dealing with a client, and that is whether you do it on one of the sites that we're going to talk about on the next slide, or you're doing an email or whatever, you have to understand that you're kind of unknown to them if they haven't worked with you before. And of course, whenever people do business on the internet, a lot of things are unknown, and there's kind of a trust issue there. Plus, people like answers right away. They're dealing with somebody online. So, if you're in California and they're in New York, they want to be able to ask you a question and get a response, like not 3 days later. One thing that you can do, and we'll discuss this when we actually take a look at how we go about doing this. I'm going to show you kind of a live example. One thing that you need to do is make yourself available. That means instant messenger. That means email. That means reply quickly. Communication is the key. So these are the 4 things that we're going to talk about in this module, and we're going to go kind of into a little bit more detail. To start off with, let's go ahead and look at finding clients. You're going to use sites like elance.com, rentacoder.com, and guru.com. That doesn't mean these are the only ones. There's tons of these kind of sites out there. Do a search on Google for freelance, and you will find a slew of stuff. These are the 3 that I typically stick with, the 3 that I use. My favorite is probably Elance. I like their interface. I like how easy they make things. The guru.com, they're a lot more complicated to actually run, in my opinion, so they're not quite as user-friendly. Rentacoder, again, they're not really real. They're not that complex, but they're not as streamlined as Elance. Elance really has a good interface from the buyer's perspective and from the provider's perspective. We're going to actually, in just a few minutes, we're going to go to these sites and I'm going to show you how they work. But keep in mind, the goal here, some people build a business on Elance, for example, and they just do a ton of work there. I don't really spend a lot of time there anymore. Rentacoder and Guru. Okay, Rentacoder is free completely. I don't even think they have a paid subscription. All of these sites get their money from, whenever you do work, they get a percentage. Rentacoder doesn't charge anything on top of that. Guru has a free account that you can get. They've also got a paid account that lets you do a lot more. Elance is, I believe they have a free account too. That gives you a limited amount of communication that you can do. Like, for example, maybe you can only bid on 2 jobs a month or something like that. They have a paid account. It's $9.95. That's the one that I use. It gives me plenty of, they call them connects on Elance, where you can go there. You have a certain amount of connects per month, and every time you bid on a job, that takes away from your connects. And the value of the job that you're bidding on, that's what determines how many connects you use up. I don't have the rundown for you. It's on their site. But so, for example, if the job is less than $500, it's going to be like 1 connect. If it's 500 to 1,000, it might be 2 connects. So each one of these provide the interface between somebody who is looking for a job to be done and somebody who is able to do that job. And then again, they will either charge you for a monthly membership maybe, or they just, they charge you for the monthly membership and they take a percentage, or like Rentacoder, they just take a percentage. And this is kind of another one of those things you have to take into account when you figure out how much you're going to charge, is that they're going to ding you for a percentage. So you've kind of got to work that in there. And that is another reason why eventually you want to move people off of those sites. So don't just hang out there forever. I usually, like I said before, if I've got a slow day or a slow week or something, and I don't have anything scheduled, which hasn't been lately, then I'll go there and I'll see if there's something small maybe that I can squeeze in. But I don't like keep going with the same customers there. After this, my customers are going to contact me directly, so I don't have to keep paying that. Let's go ahead, and I think the best way to learn from this is to just see how it works. And I've got all of these opened up. We'll do a really quick run through to all three of them, and then we'll go back. They all work pretty much the same way as far as you look for jobs, and then you bid on those jobs. Now, the actual ways that they do it vary a little bit. I will tell you this bit of advice: RoboForm. Get yourself RoboForm. That is an amazing tool. If you're going to be working online, anything like this, you want RoboForm because it keeps track of all of your sign-ins, your user IDs, passwords, all your information, anything that you have to fill out. It's all automated in there, and it's great. So anyhow, for what that's worth. Here's Elance at elance.com. I have already logged into my account. The tab is set to Find Professionals. Now, that's what somebody would do if they have a project and they are looking for somebody specifically maybe that can do that job. We want to go to Find Work. And I'll let that come in. You can see, we're not going to actually do a search yet. I'll come back and I'll use Elance in a minute. But you can see they've got different categories. It shows you some of the jobs within the categories. And then you can type a specific keyword that may be something that you do, and you can search for that as well, and you'll see the jobs. Again, we'll come back to that in just a minute. Guru, basically the same kind of thing. You can search for keywords. Okay, they've got employers and freelancers over here. So terminology is a little bit different, but it's basically the same thing. You can search, they've got categories. And what a lot of them do is allow you to subscribe to specific categories, and you can even get notified when a job is posted within that category. You can get an email notification, for example. But this is Guru. They have redone this website in, I believe, the last maybe 4 months. So it's a little better than it used to be. It used to be almost strictly text-based, and it looked kind of lame, actually. But they've redone it. It's still not as efficient as Elance, in my opinion, but they're making some headway here. And then we've got Rent-A-Coder. Rent-A-Coder is still very coder-oriented. Let's go ahead and click My Bids here. The way that they go about doing all of their stuff is a little bit confusing. It's not very intuitive. You actually have to know what you're looking for and what you're doing. So here, again, the same basic thing applies, is that you're going to search for something. You can browse through and you can see what's available. Like if I do browse all work. Now on Rent-A-Coder, that's going to about blow you away because, I mean, look at all the categories that they have got here. If you want to go through all of this, you're going to be in trouble. What you would really do, especially in this specific field, each one of these, if you want to browse through and just kind of see what's there, because sometimes, the specific job that we're willing to, maybe, for example, somebody doesn't know the terminology to use in the industry, so they post something. If you were to read it, you could see that it's related and that you could do it. But if you were to just search for a specific keyword, maybe their job would never come up. So browsing through here is not a bad idea. But what you should do is go to each one of these and set up the categories that you're interested in. And those are the ones that you check out and just kind of browse through there. Again, Rent-A-Coder, not very intuitive. It has, to me, the reason that it's even better than Guru, though, is because there's much more available, like, on one screen. So at least you can usually get to where you need to go pretty quick. But, like I said, Elance is the one that I like the best. Very intuitive interface. Let's go ahead, and for this particular, I am in category Design and Multimedia. So I'm going to click on that. That's because that's the one that fits the best for video stuff, and that's the one you'll probably want to sign up to as well. Notice that we've got even subcategories underneath that, because a lot of things fall into Design and Multimedia. What you get if you hover over one of these is some of the ones that have been posted in the last 24 hours. And those are really good because it's always good to be one of the first people to respond to a project, because you're going to get probably a little more attention that way. If it's a real popular project and they've got, like 30 people submitting proposals, it's going to be difficult. But you know what? That just reminds me, I haven't quite explained how this process works. So let me go ahead and do that now. Whenever somebody has something that they need to get done, they will post a description of what they need, and most of the time they'll put a range of price what they'd like to pay. That is by no means set in stone, so don't worry if it says under $500. A lot of them say that. But I have seen that a lot of times that's because people really don't know what it's worth, so they just put that. That's what they'd like to pay maybe. But a lot of times I have bid on a job, and I've been twice as much as that, and I've told them, I see your budget's less than $500, but there's no way that's going to happen. I don't necessarily word it that way. But they went ahead and they go with me because they didn't know really what it was worth, and they just have to pick an option there. So that's the one that they picked. But they'll go there and they'll put a title, they'll do a description, set maybe a budget, and then people will be notified, or they'll go in and they'll search people that are providers that are able to do the job, and they will bid on, okay, this is how much I will do that job for. And then the buyer has to go through, maybe look at your portfolio, look at some samples, communicate with you a little bit, and then, of course, consider the cost. But don't let your bid amount be the determining factor. That's one thing that because I do a lot of training for buyers as well. And one thing that I tell them is whenever you're going to outsource and you're going to go to one of these sites and get somebody to do some work for you, don't just automatically take the lowest bidder, because there's a lot of times there's reasons why they're the lowest bidder. You don't necessarily take the highest bidder. The highest bidder is not always the one that gives you the best work. You actually have to sit down and go through their work and talk with them, whether that's email, on the phone, or whatever. Look at their samples, see what they're going to give you, see what kind of reputation they have, what kind of turnaround time they're going to offer. All those things have to be taken into account. So don't just shoot low because you think that's going to get you the job. My experience is, if you're dealing with somebody that is only considering price, then it's a waste of time, and don't deal with them. The only reason I say that is because unless you're kind of the kind of person that's like, I'll do anything for money, then knock yourself out. But I don't want to let my quality suffer because the price is so low. So yes, I walk away from a lot of jobs. I'll go browsing through there, and I'll see something where they obviously, like, they might put, not only do they put that their budget is less than $500, they might put in the actual listing, I'm going to pay $100 for this maximum. And I'll just say, okay, that's good, and move on to the next one. Don't waste your time with it. That kind of stuff comes with experience, okay, after you get your feet wet a little bit and get some experience. So here, what we have, now you know how I still didn't do it. You go through and you bid on the job. Other people are bidding on the job. The client will give the job to somebody. You do it, they approve it, and you get paid. That's the way that it works. Okay, now, what they're showing you here again is jobs that have been posted in the last 24 hours. Obviously, there could be more than this, but this is all that shows up on this screen. So we're going to click See All. And this shows us 455 projects posted as of right now. And we can just go through here. Now you'll notice this depends on how focused you want your business to be. Do you want to only do video? Do you want to only do training? Do you want to only do promos? Do you want to only do voiceovers, commercials? Depends on how focused you want to be. Over here on the left, we have a lot of subcategories, okay? More than was on the last page. And that lets us get things a little bit more focused. But bear in mind that the people that posted the job they selected what subcategory it's going in. So that doesn't mean that it's always in the right one. So just kind of keep that in mind. So what we have to do is not only browse through here, but we also have to search for specific things that have to do with our industry. Let's go ahead and do voice talent. Click on that subcategory, and you can see we've got a number of jobs posted here. Let's go ahead and just look at one that is getting a good bit of response there. And it's not a sealed bid, which means we'll be able to see the amounts. Or actually, it is a sealed bid, but I'm going to go back here. That's something I haven't noticed before. Look at that. When I hover over it, it tells me the average bid, the lowest bid, and the highest bid. And to be honest, I didn't think they were supposed to give you that information. I might have found a bug on Elance. I didn't think they were supposed to give you that information on sealed bids. Because see here, it says bids received, average bid sealed. It's supposed to be sealed. That's what all this means. I'll show you the difference between a sealed bid and a non-sealed bid. But here on Elance, anyhow, that's good information for me to note. Here on Elance, and good information for you too. We've got the buyer. We've got their budget. This is what they are projecting that it's going to be, between $500 and $1,000. The number of bids that they've got when they posted the job, and then when the bidding closes. They've set it up for it to end on a specific day. In this case, it is the 24th, so it's going to end tomorrow on the 25th. They give you a description, what they're going to do, what they're requiring. Some of these, they give you a lot of detail. Some of them don't. That's what you have to communicate with them about. And one thing I'll advise you right now, get details, because you don't want to be trapped. This is one place that I learned very quickly. Get details and outline. This is what I'm going to do for you, X, Y, Z, period. Because you will have people try to abuse that, and they'll try to get you to do more that was not included in your proposal. So outline specifically exactly what you're going to do. If you're going to allow them to, like for example, this is an audio thing, some kind of audio reading. If it's going to be like, a 40-minute reading, like it says right here, then what you're going to do is you're going to record. You're going to take that into account, how long it's going to take you to record it and edit it. And if you're going to allow them, with a 40-minute reading, that would be kind of tough. But for like a 60-second commercial, maybe you're going to allow them a retake if they don't like it. You put in that proposal, you get one retake. Okay, so take that into consideration. We've got some more project details here up at the top. This is how you're going to first on Elance. This is a way that you can go ahead and ask them a question without actually bidding on it. And then if you want to, you can create a proposal down here and tell them, again, outline everything that you're going to do. Send them, introduce yourself, send them to your portfolio, let them see samples, all that kind of stuff. You can attach files. If you did a demo for them specifically, sometimes, especially for audio work, they will ask you to read a sample of the script, read like a paragraph so they can hear it. And then you set your bid amount. We're going to be talking about bidding later on, how you figure out those factors, how you decide what you're going to charge for different stuff. But put your bid amount, the amount of time that it's going to take you to get it done. In order, I'm going to deliver it within 2 weeks. I'm going to deliver it within 3 weeks. Whatever the case might be. Payment type, this is going to be an escrow. And escrow works like this. If, let's say, usually you find escrows with bigger jobs, not with the tiny ones like $100 or something, but with bigger jobs, this protects the buyer and the freelancer, the provider. Let's say you bid $1,000. The buyer is going to have to deposit the $1,000 or a portion of it. If you do like a payment thing, for example, you could say, this job's going to take a month for me to do. So when I submit half of it, I want to get 50% payment. You can do that. The buyer will have to make a deposit to match that. And then once you submit the work and you get approved, the escrow is going to be released to you, so you get your payment. So let's just say, for example, you had a $5,000 job. You're going to do a commercial. And what you want to do is, because you've got to do a lot of recording and casts and all this kind of stuff, you're going to say, after the script is approved and after you have the first audio take, recording or whatever, you get $1,000. And then after you submit the first revision, you get $2,500. And then after you submit the last final approved version, you get the balance. Okay? And that does not always mean that you're going to do, that you have to do a review and redo something. I've set up things where, they're going to get to review it, and then I get my money at the end. When they review it, they say, "Hey, Ken, it's fine." And they take it just like that. Okay? So just because you give somebody the opportunity to, redo something, that does not mean you always have to do it. Connects, this is what I was talking about before on Elance. They give you a specific amount of connects per month. This one is going to take up 2 connects, and again, that's because they set the range at between $500 and $1,000. If I bid $1,500, it's still going to be 2 connects because they set that range. Okay, and now down at the bottom, this is one thing that I like particularly about Elance, and it's good for a newbie. They have recently made a change which makes it a little bit difficult. Now sealed is the default, and that's why you see a lot of sealed auctions now. But what they used to do is sealed was not the default, and when somebody put a project out there and people bid on it, you would actually see their bid amount here. And that was real handy because, if you see this job and you're like, I think I could probably do that for $500, and you go down here and everybody's bidding over $1,000, don't shoot yourself in the foot. Okay? So it was real handy. Now, like I said, whenever they submit a project like that, the default option is sealed. So a lot of people don't change it. They just leave it like this. And what that means is that you can't see how much people are bidding. That's really the way that it works on most of the other sites that you can't see, like on Rent-A-Coder, for example. You can't see what other people are bidding. But, however, we did go back here, and here's the same job, and I'm hovering over the number of bids, and it is showing me the average bid, and that is insane. It is doing that for all of these sealed bids, and I have never seen that before. But that's good to know. Again, I go in here just on occasion to, fill in some time, perhaps, but this is the way that I would browse around. Now let's say that I wanted to get kind of specific. If we go back to design and multimedia, like I said before, people could put different things in different categories. Let's say that we're going to do online training. Well, somebody could put that in other multimedia services. If it has to do with graphics, they might put it in illustration. They might really not know. They could put it in videography and editing. They could put it, they actually have it's in a different main category. They have something on training. So a lot of different areas where things could go here. So the way that we get around that is by using the keywords. Now in this industry, let's say you're going to do computer-based training. That's the niche that you're going to pick. Your keywords are going to be like training, tutorial, Camtasia, things like that, screen capture, anything that describes what your industry is. Now with this kind of thing, Camtasia is a huge keyword because just about everybody knows it. You will still have clients that don't know that you actually use Camtasia to do that kind of thing. And, they really don't care. But then you also do have clients that know that Camtasia is the standard in the industry. So, and I have no idea, I promise you, I did not go in and look at anything in here today. This is totally blind, so you're going to see exactly what I would do looking for that kind of work. I'm going to look for Camtasia first, and I'm going to see if anything comes up. Okay, looks like we have a number of things popping up here. And I might find a job right now. It depends on if it's something that looks very attractive to me. Again, all of these being sealed. Let's take a look before we go in, because we found out this sneaky information. Let's go ahead and hover over the bid so that we've got an idea. Now, notice on this one, it says less than $500. That's what he set as the budget. Okay. But when we hover over that, somebody bid $550. So it's not set in stone. It's just, you know, that's their ballpark guess. This one they said, not sure. And several people bid on that one, actually. 500 on that. So now look at that. This one has $1,000, $500 to $1,000. Somebody bid $1,400. Somebody bid up to $4,000 on that one. I'll probably have to check that one out. And okay, so that one falls within the range. Let's go ahead while we're having fun here and go ahead and do that big job demo and tutorial flash and video. Let's check it out. This is a project for my client who has 4 software applications for Microsoft Windows. Their end users are professionals but have basic computer skills. So they're going to outline what they're going to do. The project is to create, they're going to outline what they're wanting. 3 levels of demo and tutorials, quick overview of the 4 applications, maybe less than 3 minutes. Detailed sales demo, 10 to 15 minutes. Tutorial for each application. And then, okay, we can provide the contract or web link information, copy of the program to play with, salesperson's voice, basis for knowledge. Okay, that's easy enough. Delivered via website, and they want to ship it out on CD. So they're going to give you, in this case, here's one thing that you will run into a lot is you want to know requirements. You want to know what the deliverables are. How do I need to submit this to you? Because there's going to be, most people, what I do is I give them the raw AVI video, plus I give them one format. Now, that would be like maybe Flash, or they want an MP4 or an MOV, whatever they want. If they're a good customer, or if they just ask, you know, I'll give them another format. If later on they don't outline that, and later on they say, you know, hey Ken, could I get this in Flash too? Then I'll go ahead and encode it for them. Typically, but if they're in the job here and they post like 10 different formats, then definitely take that into consideration, because it's going to be very time consuming. Whenever you have to render out your files, it takes a long time. Your computer is bogged down. It's basically worthless until it's done with that. So you got to take that into consideration. We're looking for one provider to create all 3 demo and presentations in 3 phases. Now, I will tell you, I am definitely going to bid on this job. It's ending in 12 days. Not sure I'm going to get it, but I'm going to bid on it because this is exactly what I like to do. I think I'm going to save this. The last module that I'm going to do, that I plan to do here, I'm going to do a walkthrough. So I think I'm going to save this for the end, but we will definitely be coming back to this. Now notice the number of connects that it would take here, 4. That's because they put more than 1,000. Okay, so the connects is higher. Let's go back. And let's take a look at maybe this one right here. 3 to 5 minute web video sales presentation. 3 to 5 minute professional video. What's there between 500 and 1,000? A lot. They've got some examples of kind of what they want it to look like. And here's the people that have bid on it. Now, this is typically what you see. And granted, this is more information than a lot of the other freelance sites give you. And that's why I like Elance so much. Most of the time, like on Guru, on Rent-A-Coder, you don't really see who else has been bidding on it. And the reason that Elance is so powerful this way is because I can go in here and I can see, this is all part of research. I can go in here and I can see what these people are bidding on. I can see what they're doing, what real business they're doing on Elance. I can see what they're like after the fact. Maybe right now the bidding is sealed, but after the fact, I could go back here and I can find out if they picked this person. If they picked him, I can see what he got paid for that. Can't always find out what kind of job they did, unless the URL is posted in here so that you know to go check it out later on. But it provides you a ton of helpful information as far as doing your research to figure out how much you're going to charge, and what's going on, so you can get a feel for the industry. Now, that being said, we're just going to do one more thing. I want to show you how with different keywords, like notice in the titles here, Camtasia is coming up a lot. Okay, but their search engine is pretty smart, so it kind of associates things. It won't necessarily have Camtasia. If it's a video training, a lot of times it'll catch it. But if I do training only, I got 6 on this one. Let's see what comes up. And notice that not all these are training. They might be promotional stuff. Okay, so here's some other kind of training. A lot of stuff popping up here. 3 pages, 75 projects posted. Tutorial. Let's go ahead and do that one. Okay, and that one gives me 12. So you can see how with 3 different words that could all be interlinked, I get 3 different results. Some of these will be repeats, like this one I believe was on the first result. But as a matter of fact, I think that's the one that we looked at. Yeah, it is. But anyhow, you got to kind of get a feel for what it is that you're doing, and you'll pick up on a lot of those keywords. But training, tutorial, Camtasia, screen capture, with those 4, you'll get a ton of business, trust me. So let's go ahead now. And what we want to do is talk a little bit about your price, because you want to be able to bid effectively. You don't want to just throw a number out there. Remember, the bid is important, but not because it has to be low. You do not have to be the lowest bidder to get the job. Sure, you can go ahead and try to do things that way. Try to run your business by undercutting everybody, but you're going to be working really hard for pennies. So that's not what I recommend. Also, a word to the wise, typically these sites, Elance, Rent-A-Coder, all that, they are pretty competitive. So a lot of people are doing kind of what I do, is they go there when they've got some free time available and they want to fill it up. So it's pretty competitive for that reason. But are my rates the same on Elance that they are off of Elance? Well, not necessarily. If I've got a good customer that comes to me regularly, I give them a good price. But if somebody out of the blue contacts me and says, you were referred by such and such, then I'm not going to necessarily start them out as competitive as I might on Elance. I did that in the beginning. I was very competitive on Elance, but once I got more experience and I was able to put a better quality product out there, then I just realized I didn't really have to be that competitive. I could show them the goods and they'll be like, yeah, okay, we want that. Because you got to understand, these people that are bidding really low, their samples are going to reflect their product. So you do the same. If your product is really worth something, then you need to charge accordingly. You kind of need to figure out when you get started in this is how much do you want to make? You can do that by a week. You can do that by the hour, whatever. Get a figure in your mind. If you want to make $100 an hour and you think you can actually book yourself 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, whatever, then, that's your target. And that's how you need to factor in when you start to bid things. Another thing to factor in is maybe I'm going to charge $100 an hour, but I don't expect to work 40 hours a week. Maybe I'm only going to work 20 hours a week because I won't have that much work to do, or I don't want to do that much work. It's up to you. But get that amount figured in there. You know, if you're making $75 an hour on your job right now, then you're not going to come in here and charge $35 an hour. Doesn't make any sense. On the other hand, if you're making $20 an hour and you'd like to charge $75 or $100 an hour, that's where you're going to actually, exceed or succeed, I should say. So think about what you want to make, and then also you have to take into account what others are charging. Now, do this from a research standpoint, not from the standpoint I've got to be competitive. Do it from a research standpoint. That means you check out what they're doing. You check out what they're bidding on, what jobs they're actually getting, and if you can, check out their quality of work. You know what? Let me hop over to Elance again. Let's take a look at the big money job right here. That's going to probably be at least a couple $1,000s. But let's check out somebody. I'll just grab one out of the blue here. I will tell you this too. A lot of competition from overseas on all of these sites. Don't let it scare you. Fortunately, for audio and video work, if there's voice involved in that, they're gonna eventually have to go to somebody who is a native English speaker. So check out their portfolio, any references that they give there, and also you want to look at. Let's do this one right here. You want to check out jobs that they did. Notice how it tells you the amount right there. So we can click on that. We can see who it was and how pleased they were with the work. And you can even go ahead and click on the job itself, and that way you'll get a description. Okay, get a description of what they asked for. Let's go. They had another one that was a little more high end, I think. Yeah, right there. Let's click on that one. Premier linking. Okay, and you can see a description of the job, what they did. That's the kind of research that you want to do, and you want to do it on several people, not just one, because you want to get an idea of the quality of the work, compared with the pricing. So all of that. And then we also take into consideration what will the client pay. That doesn't mean you overcharge them, but that means, like I said before, don't shoot yourself in the foot. If you think you can do it for $500 and everybody else is bidding $1,500 and the client's going to have to pay that, in that case, you might want. Now that doesn't mean you bump yourself up to $1,500. That's not, it's not good business practice. If you've got experience and that you can do it quickly and you can give them good quality, then just take that into account. Because a lot of times you can actually cut yourself off by being too low. So this works on the extreme. You can cut yourself off by being too low, and you can cut yourself off by being too high. Now that doesn't mean, like I said, that you set yourself right in the middle of everybody else, just, automatically. But talk to the client, let them see. One nice thing about this is you can let them see your work without actually bidding on the job. So you can start communication with them and ask them questions, kind of get a feel for what their requirements are going to be, get a feel for what they're actually looking for, and if they like your work at all. And that'll help you adjust things. Like, for example, let's just say that you knew everybody was going to try to rip somebody off and they were way overpricing the job, and you knew you could do it for $500. Everybody else was bidding around $1,500. You might start to initiate communication with the client, let them see your work, and then talk about things, discuss it a little bit more. And if they really like your work and they are communicating regularly with you, then tell them, finally tell them, yeah, I can do this for you for $800, $850. And at that point, they kind of opened up to you, so they might trust you a little bit more, and you won't necessarily cut yourself off. But if you were to just submit the bid and say, yeah, $500, here you go, then they might be like, well, that's probably junk, so I'm not even going to waste my time with it. Okay, so it is a little bit, there's some trickiness to it. There's some getting some experience and getting a feel for what will work and what won't work. Very important. But one thing I want you to take away from this is definitely set your rates. Don't be afraid to bend them. The reason that you do that is you want a standard, if something fits a description and you can put it into a category, you want a standard rate to give them. That helps you when you're working with jobs, when you're going to be bidding on jobs. It helps you not to have to, rack your brain so much figuring out what you're going to charge. And like I said, you can do it based on your time. You can do it based on the product. Like, for example, I charge $2,500 for 1 hour of video training. That means it might take me 20 hours to do it. It might take me 10 hours to do it. But the rate is set based on what I deliver. Somebody else might want to say, I charge $50 an hour for this, and on job A, for that 1 hour, I think it's going to take me 10 hours to do it, so I'll charge $500. On job B, I think it's going to take me 20 hours to do it, so I'll charge $1,000. It depends on how you want to work it, but just set your rates. Again, don't be afraid to bend them. That means, if they approach you and say, it's kind of a little bit out of our price range, be a little bit flexible, but don't just, slash your price in half just because they come back and say it's too expensive. Let them know, thanks for working with me. I appreciate this. Here's the best that I can do. I understand if it's still out of your price range. Now let's look at a very important factor in all of this, and that is communication. Clients want to be able to get through to you and get a response quickly. Remember, you might be on the other side of the world. You might be across town. You might be on the other side of the country. These projects could be very important to them, and a lot of them are taking a chance and outsourcing, and maybe they've never done that before. So they want to communicate, and this one single thing will give you such an edge over the competition that literally you can charge more, because there are a lot of lamers out there that bid on a job and maybe accept the job. They get it. And then the client is like sending them an email saying, where's this and where's that? And they ignore them. They don't have it ready, so they don't send anything to them, or they don't let them know what the progress is, or they never ask them questions about it. That's the worst thing that you could do. You don't want to be like a one-off and just get the job, get it to them whenever you want to, and get paid. You want to build a relationship. Here's what a lot of people do on eBay, people that sell things on eBay. Even if, let's say they're a big company and they have products that they sell, they'll list an auction, somebody buys it, and that's it. Then they list the same thing again, somebody buys it, and that's it. They never go back and do business with those customers again unless the customer just happens to come back. And that's a big mistake. They're losing a lot of money. The same thing applies right here. You want to build a relationship. You're going to it's almost like you're selling yourself up front to get a lead, to get a connection. And after that's made, you're going to, the lifetime value of that client could be incredible. The first job they give you might make $500. Maybe they're testing the water. And then if they build a relationship with you, that client could be worth $50,000 to you over the next 5 years. So communicate with them. Let them know when you submit that proposal, let them know I'm available via instant messenger. Here's my ID. I'm available via email, and I respond within 4 hours. Okay, maybe give them hours that you're available, whatever. Even give them a phone number. This is a big one. If you can give somebody your phone number, you're saying to them, I am totally not afraid of you calling me. I'm not afraid of being accessible by you. And that will relieve a lot of anxiety as far as if they can trust you or not. And believe me, this is one of the areas, the biggest area where a provider would fail is lack of communication. Respond quickly, make yourself available, and you will succeed in this. Okay, let's go ahead and review things now just really quick. I want to just hit on the main points. We're going to use Elance, Rent-A-Coder Guru, any of the other kind of sites that you might know or might find. That's how we locate clients. We're going to search for projects based on keywords. We can also browse through the different categories that are available. And then we're going to bid based on the research that we have done and how much money we want to make. Even if, like I'll tell you this, I have seen situations where maybe somebody posts a job to do us some training and everybody that is replying is bidding like, $500. And you're like, well, I know that's going to take me a long time to do. I'd really rather make like 2,000 because it's going to take me a long time to do it. Well, if you've done your research and you notice that everybody that's bidding on it is from India, then, don't shoot yourself in the foot. Tell the client, I understand everybody's bidding really low, but I don't know if you're going to be able to deal with the accent, So you can kind of play with things from that way. Communicate with the client. This is one of the most important factors in building that relationship with you. And then after those first initial jobs, maybe do one or two of them for them on Elance or on Rent-A-Coder. They're eventually going to want to move off of Elance as well and deal with you directly. Okay, and remember, that's a better way because we avoid those fees. And I mean, they take a good chunk. I don't even pay attention necessarily to how much it is because it is so grievous to me. But I will tell you, I don't know, maybe, I don't want to guess, but maybe like 8%, something like that is what they take. So on $1,000 job, they're going to get like $80, which, I mean, that's the way it goes. And then plus chances are you're going to get paid by eBay. They're going to ding you for another 3% or whatever. So you have to take all that into consideration. It's best to avoid as much of that as possible. Our next module is going to be project workflow. We're just going to go over real quickly the entire process, kind of an overview. And then the last module, we're going to head back to that real nice job that I saw in there. And I'm going to let you watch me go through the entire process.